Plowshares defendants, if you would make your way up onto the stage. And I can think of no better way to segue from Karen's speaking to us about climate change to the introduction of these wonderful folks than with this quote from Greta Thunberg, who is probably right now the world's best known climate activist. So listen, if you will, to the wisdom of youth, to the wisdom of the female, to the wisdom of the other able. And I quote, "Yes, we do need hope. Of course we do. But the one thing we need more than hope is action. Once we start to act, hope is everywhere." I am proud to introduce to you our friends who give us hope through their action, the Kings Bay Plowshares. I should let you know, we've told them they have 30 minutes, so everybody here is going to have to time them in order to make sure they hold 30 minutes. Who gets this first? Where's Carmen? Dave gets it first. Where's Carmen?
I don't know how to work these things. But Steve Kelly sent us a message and I'm looking for it. Beth, where are you? Beth sent us a message from the jail, and I can say a few things about Steve. This is his picture. He looks pretty happy. But Steve Kelly is a Jesuit priest. For those of you who don't know it, Pope Francis is a Jesuit. Steve has spent 18 months. Steve has spent 18 months in the Glenn County Jail. For those of us on the stage, all of us have spent some time in the Glenn County Jail. Some of us just a couple of weeks, some of us months and months, including Liz and Mark. But Steve turned 70 years old while he was in the Glenn County Jail. He also surpassed a milestone of sorts, not one that anyone in this room probably has. More than 10 years of being incarcerated in U.S. jails and prisons for acts of nonviolent resistance to nuclear weapons. I can't really find the words to describe my admiration for a person who lives that kind of selfless life. And something you probably also don't know about Steve, of those 10 years that he served in jail and prison, he has spent 6 years in what Steve calls the SHU, that's S-H-U, Segregated Housing Unit. All jails and prisons function because of inmate labor. And Steve will not work to help prisons and jails function more efficiently. Therefore, he serves his time in federal prison almost entirely in solitary confinement. It's hard to imagine. He's a mystic. This is my granddaughter, Teresa. He's a mystic, and he's a monastic too, obviously, because he can survive. According to the United Nations, 60 days or more in solitary confinement constitutes torture. So I'm going to read you what Steve is sharing with us tonight. In her distillation of years of sobriety, Annie Lamont writes in Traveling Mercies, quote, "Courage is fear that has said its prayers." Claiming inspiration from Isaiah 2:4, I think most people in this room know that one, and Martin Luther King Jr., 7 ordinary people overcame their fears of risking their liberty and loss of good name to embody conversion from materialism, militarism, and racism, of nuclear weapons to a nuclear-free world. 18 months after touching these idols and mounting inconveniences, we find ourselves accused of crimes and going to trial. Thanks to your support and presence here and the generous legal team, we still have heart for this witness. We engaged the judiciary in the courtroom, one of the more dangerous rooms in the Pentagon. The judiciary at the district, appellate circuit, and supreme level have precluded truth-telling in the courtroom. So that in the words of Daniel Berrigan, a nuclear holocaust will be legal. We thank you for enabling this forum, as you are the hope you have arrived to find. Amen.
I don't have a lot to say. This is Martha Hennessey. We are preparing for this coming week, this trial, and I hold on to the belief that there are conversions that will occur in the courtroom. And I'm working with my attorney. I'm not going pro se, and this preparation is bringing many different thoughts to my mind about how we will be perceived, this business of compromising one's good name. I'm not quite sure what that means. But I'm very grateful to my co-defendants and my community, you all here. And it's going to be a very exciting week. Thank you so much.
Mark Colville, thank you. Yeah, the journey continues tomorrow. We move into a new step along the way. And I look out here, and I know that that it's not 7 people. Patrick actually in one of our meetings a couple days ago said something that kind of has stuck with me, and I thought it might be good to repeat it here. Would be that we should not be speaking of this as our action or the action or your action. It's everybody here. We want this action to be all of our action. We are all co-conspirators in a new world. It's important that we remember that and that we speak that way and we act that way. That there's no way that I could walk into that hellhole tomorrow with any kind of courage if I was not walking, as part of this grand circle that has arisen around the action that was taken up. How long ago is it now? It seems a long time ago. Anyway, I was one of the people who remained in the jail for many months, and I just want to also express my deep gratitude to all of you for holding me in your thoughts and prayers, and so many people wrote and sent books, and so there was never a time when I felt abandoned or alone. So I want to acknowledge that and say thank you. And then of course the last thing is that word, we are charged with 3 felonies, as you know, one of which I kind of wear as a badge of honor, and that is called conspiracy. And we all have tossed that word around together and turned it, we try to live that word for its true meaning, which of course the word means to breathe together. And that's what we're doing. We're breathing together, we're living together, we're walking together into a new reality. And thank you to Sister Grady, who made the connection between climate change and nuclear weapons. It is a deep connection that I hope that we can make in the court this week. So thanks a lot.
So I'm Elizabeth McAlister, and here with me today is my daughter Kate, and my son and his family, and other daughter and her family are on their way. They will be here tomorrow, and they will be here for the trial, which is a source of great joy to me, to be able to look forward to that time with them. I need to share with you that I was in the local jail a year and 6 months, and then got kicked out. The word came this one day, utterly unexpected, pack it all up, and that's what it means. Fortunately, there was a woman locally that they found to come and pick me up. Or where would I go? But it was an interesting experience to get kicked out of jail utterly unexpectedly. And initially, with absolutely no conditions, they found a way to catch up with the conditions later on. They aren't all of that oppressive. But at any rate, I need to say a word or two to you about the jail, because the jail is full of people, most of whom don't belong there. The tragedy is that so many are there because of addiction to drugs, addiction to drugs. So how do we find ways to meet the needs of people, their need for love, their need for meaning, their need for significance in this culture that will keep them away from the destructiveness of the drug culture? And that's an ongoing issue in this country in particular. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there and say, let's find ways to talk about this. Let's find ways to try to make a difference, to make living in this culture a little bit more meaningful and less crazy. Thank you.
So Liz and I were part of the Griffiths Plowshares in 1983, disarming the first strike nuclear weapon. With Jackie Allen, Susan Hammer, Vern Grossman, Carl Smith, Kathleen Rumpf, if any of you are in this audience. So back in the 80s, when it was 3 minutes to midnight, and I was in my mid-20s, I was disarming my first strike, first world nuclear weapons with a mind toward 3 minutes to midnight. And if these weapons were to be launched. Now that I'm 60, and I chose to take part in this action at Kings Bay, nonviolently, symbolically disarming part of the Trident weapons system. My choice to do that was not if these weapons are launched,
That's right.
how we will suffer, but how we suffer right
That's
now.
right. That's right.
How they kill us. So I'm glad to make connections with the biggest polluter and climate change contributor that were just made earlier by Karen. But I really, really am committed to saying how with my life and my work as I've grown to see those triplets of white supremacy, global capitalism, and global domination, that these weapons at Kings Bay, just as our action was symbolic, those weapons are real and symbolically represent the capstone of all state-sponsored violence that enforced those triplets of white supremacy, global capitalism, Yup, exactly. And thank you for telling the truth. I'm sorry that we weren't all here for you. And the Kichiko ring shouters, it was just like broke my heart open. And Teresa is my sister. Wherever you are, Teresa, thank you for making connections and doing it with love. So here we are with choices. And as a white Christian living with the privilege of that in this system, it feels, after years of going into courts, talking about the supreme laws of our land that exist to bring life and keep life, that make it illegal to kill civilians, make it illegal to poison the earth and the sacred water.
Yes.
Those laws are being violated up and down every day by these weapons and the hucksters that sell them and everyone that's benefiting from it. I refuse to use the word crime except for those weapons. I'm going into courts that ignore those laws. They take the gnat and swallow the camel.
That's right.
And they send you to jail again and again and again. And Steve has been in for 10 years. That I finally have my epiphany. I'm gonna have a whole lot more in my life, God willing. But I was like, oh my gosh, the corollary for me is that to the extent that people of privilege take responsibility for the big crimes of killing millions, stealing trillions, we will stop scapegoating all the people who fill our prisons and jails who are on the receiving end of those crimes. Without fellowship, and that's where you all are, beloved community. And the second thing is, to the extent that you focus on your sins and crimes, you will release those others to do their own work of liberation. You will not make them your project. So thank you to my sisters and brothers here for being willing to let go of a little privilege and a little comfort and live with the unknown and possibly the extended experiment with RIFRA. I have spent a lot of time trying to prepare my remarks for court tomorrow, and it's been painfully slow, but I see that I'm not inhibited on the stage.
Hard to come after
that we made today, that Teresa has helped hook up for us. Ermina, I was the one who used to read your stuff in jail. Right? The papers did not come in regularly. They weren't necessarily in order. But I saw what you were saying at all times. And I was so happy I got in touch with Beth Brockman, and she said she got in touch with you. I want to give great thanks to Liz McAlister and Philip Berg and Jonah House, that project that was called Jonah House, because really, it was Jonah House. In certain ways, more that the Catholic Worker was a setup, and Jonah House brought us all together.
Amen.
With local gatherings and peace activists.
Amen.
And so I look at this community of so many folks. They're our new friends. It's very encouraging, and to see all these folks come from around the country who we have shared resistance with over many years, and that is really all comes at the behest of Jonah House.
Amen.
So it seems worth mentioning. Can I get a show of hands of how many people in this audience turned on to Witness Against Torture? How many people were part of that? That's right. Yeah. So absolutely every one of us up here was part of that. And 4 of us formally went down to Guantanamo while the prisoners were on hunger strike in 2005 to try and call attention to that. And I guess I think a lot of that lingers with me, to think that we could do such a thing. And no one has paid any price. No one has gone to jail over that. The torture of prisoners. Worse yet, we all probably know, it goes on today. 18 black site prisons in Yemen. The United States, at this point, we have operatives there, we have CIA agents there that are interrogating the prisoners. They don't do the torture. The United Arab Emirates takes care of that. So I was told at one of our court processes, this is true of all my co-defendants, but I was told, and I was appalled by it, I was told that I had an extensive criminal record. And most of my community outflanks me there. But I was actually appalled at it, because I never thought I did anything criminal, really. I was like dumbstruck for a while and didn't know how to respond to it. And then later I said to the magistrate judge, I said, you know, the institutional memory of the court is perverse. They know nothing of the context in which I was arrested. I get charged with this disorderly conduct as though I were, inebriated on the streets and urinating in public. You know, this is disorderly conduct. The disorderly conduct on our part was that we were standing in front of the White House with a sign that said, "Shut down Guantanamo," and there were 20 or 30 of us. And it was orderly, because that was sort of my job, to keep it orderly. I didn't want it to become a social gathering. I wanted us looking out at the public. I wanted the signs held correctly. I wanted the banner top. I just ordered orderly. And I guess I feel that I can be sort of remarkably hopeful, and I do think there's a great deal going on in our country. Dr. King, when he gave the Beyond Vietnam speech, he cited a poem by called The Bard, Langston Hughes. And it's a long poem, but he only cited one stanza. King said, "America never was America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be." And I'm very hopeful for that process, because I think we have a long road ahead of us, but I do see light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the future in the next couple of years. The Black Lives Matter movement, the Extinction Rebellion, the Plowshares movement. There's a great deal out there to come. There's a great deal out there to come, and I'm very grateful glad that we are all part of it and that you are all part of it. So thank you all very, very much.
So we're calling this a festival of hope. I'd like to keep it hopeful. I do want to, we have recognized people who have been part of the support, and we've established that all of you are co-conspirators with us. But I would like to mention Bill and Matt and Vern and Jason who are here. Can you guys, I wish you would stand up. These are our lawyers who have spent, you know your lawyers are special, and they send you emails at 3 o'clock in the morning because they're working all night on this case. And this is only half of them, really probably 4 of the 10 that have helped us along this journey. So it's been, is Joe here now? Yeah. Cosgrove, yes! I didn't know he was here. Did anybody else sneak in? But anyway, it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to have that kind of support. Because we're just pretend lawyers, those of us going pro se. We really need the help of these folks. But I'm going to, since it's a festival of hope, I want to say a few hopeful things. Specifically, Claire brought it up, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. The reason we are now in the 19th month of this case since our arrest is primarily because of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. What Vern did with the help of all of the lawyers, all the legal team, is that he presented to the government a case for us to be able to He presented the government a case for us to use the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. It's a complicated act, and I'm not going to try to break it apart for you now, but here's what was concluded by the Federal District Court here in Brunswick about the 7 of us. This is what the judge, magistrate judge, and the trial judge, Lisa Wood, who will be trying us tomorrow morning, this is what was concluded. Number 1, that we were religious people. Number 2, that we had sincerely held religious beliefs. Number 3, which was actually added by Judge Wood, the government has burdened our practice of our religion by its sanctions against us. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act has 5 elements. We satisfied the first 3 elements of that. Never before in Plowshare annals last 39 years has a court ever affirmed the sincerely held religious beliefs of Plowshare activists. In addition, the judge wrote in the 80-page report that was delivered to us that we engaged in, try to follow this, prophetic, sacramental, symbolic denuclearization at Kings Bay. Yeah! Not our words. I've never used the word denuclearization in my life. That came from the judge. But this is a turning point. Now, unfortunately, as we head into trial tomorrow, we're not going to be able to say anything about what I just told you to the jury. Now we're reduced to alleged vandals as we enter court tomorrow. But the point is, you can't take back what you've said. It's in writing, it's on the record. That's what was found here. And I'm not sure why they found that. I mean, I think it's quite a miracle that we, because most of the time Plowshares activists are just viewed as people who take the law into their own hand. Religious fanatics, anarchists, whatever. And this is not what this court has decided. So I don't know if this is the beginning of hopeful signs for the future, but it's certainly a hopeful sign right now. How many people in this room have or have had some responsibility for children? Nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, grandchildren. Raise your hands. That's why we're here. My little granddaughter who was running around on the stage here, 1 year old, Teresa Grace. Teresa will be alive, hopefully, at the turn of the 22nd century. What kind of future? 81 years from now, she'll only be 82 at the turn of the 22nd century. What kind of future are all these children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren that we've had our lives involved with, that we love? What kind of future are we turning over to them? What is the legacy we're turning over to them? That's why we're here tonight in this conspiracy. Thank you so much.